Let me ask you something. What setback are you currently sitting in? And maybe it's not a setback that you are currently in, but it's a setback that happened maybe a month ago, maybe even a year ago, but for whatever reason, it still has you in a chokehold. Is it a breakup that blindsided you, or a career move that didn't work out, or a friendship that fell apart? Maybe it's something that you worked toward for months or years and it just didn't happen. And now you're stuck in this place where everyone's telling you everything happens for a reason, or what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But you're sitting there thinking, okay, cool, but how do I actually get stronger from this? How do I stop feeling like I'm stuck in this? I'm Nina, and I pretty much coach women into stepping into the best version of themselves, both mentally, physically, and spiritually, in that order. And here's what I know. Rising up from a setback isn't about staying positive or time healing all wounds, right? It's about making very particular choices in the aftermath that most people never make. So let me start with the truth. Setbacks feel devastating. Why? Because they challenge your identity, not just your plans. And what I mean by that is it tends to challenge who you are. Think about it. When you were working toward that goal, whatever it was, you weren't just hoping for an outcome, but you were building a version of yourself around it. And when that thing didn't happen, it didn't just take away the goal, it took away the identity you already started living in. And now you're kind of sitting in this weird in between space, right? You're not who you were before you started, but you're also not who you thought you'd become. And that disorientation, that's what makes setbacks so hard. But here is what most people don't understand. A setback isn't a failure. I'm going to repeat myself. A setback isn't a failure. It's simply feedback. It's life saying, not this way, not right now, but there's still a way forward. You just can't see it yet. And I know that sounds like a weird motivational poster and speech, but I want you to stay with me because I'm about to break down exactly what it means and how to actually use it for your good. Because here's the thing, some people go through setbacks and come out bitter, stuck, and smaller, while other people go through the exact same setback and come out wiser, stronger, and more aligned than they've probably ever been. And the difference isn't luck, it's not resilience, it's the choices they made in the aftermath. So, let me tell you about 3 phases every setback takes you through. And if you can navigate these 3 phases with intentionality, you will rise up stronger, guaranteed. It's bulletproof. But let's talk about these phases first. Phase 1, the collapse. This is where you could be right now or where you were in your past. This is where everything feels like it's falling apart. You're kind of maybe still even in shock. You may even be grieving. And you start to kind of ask yourself, right? How did I not see this coming? Like, where did this come from? And this phase is super necessary. You cannot skip over this. But most people get stuck here because they try to suppress it or rush through it. Phase number 2, the rebuild. This is where you start picking up the pieces. You're figuring out what's true, what's not, what you're taking with you, and how you're going to be moving forward. This is kind of what I like to call the messy middle. And most people quit here because it feels like you're doing all this work and nothing has actually changed yet. Phase number 3, the rise. This is where everything clicks, right? You're not just back to where you were, but you're actually better. You're clearer, you're more aligned. And you look back at the setback and you realize it was actually just redirecting you towards something better. But here's the key. You don't just passively move through these phases. You have to make intentional choices in each one. And that's what I'm going to walk you through right now. So let's kind of take a step back and go back to phase one. Let's talk about phase one, the collapse, right? As I mentioned, this is where most people go wrong because they either try to skip it or they try to just camp out in this area forever. So here's what you need to do in phase one. Give yourself permission to actually feel it fully. I know everyone is telling you to stay positive, to keep your head up, to let it, don't let things get to you, sis. But honestly, that's terrible advice. You can't heal what you don't feel. So if you need to cry, cry. And if you need to be angry, be angry. If you need to sit on your couch and feel sorry for yourself for a day or two, do it. But this is important to set a time limit. You don't get to live here. You don't want to live here. It's like a visit. You're there for 48 hours, but then after that, you make a decision that I'm done collapsing. I'm not the victim. Now I'm going to start rebuilding. And you can even say that out loud to yourself. Step number 2. Stop replaying what went wrong. This is where also a lot of people get stuck because they sit in the collapse phase and they replay the setback over, trying to figure out what they could have done differently. If I would have said this, if I would have tried this, if I would have just been better. Stop. You can't change what happened. And constantly replaying a scenario in your head doesn't give you clarity. It actually keeps you stuck in a weird feeling of shame or even regret. So here's what you do instead. Extract the lesson, then close the chapter. Ask yourself, what is this setback trying to teach me? Not what did I do wrong, but what is this showing me? And maybe the lesson is, I definitely ignored a few red flags in the beginning because I was afraid of X, Y, and Z. Or maybe it was, I stayed at that job a little too long, knowing that it was no longer serving me. Maybe it's I put all my worth into one outcome, and next time I need to diversify just my identity and my options. Whatever the lesson is, I want you to write it down, acknowledge it, and then close that chapter. You're not going back there ever. You're moving forward with wisdom. And step number 3, of course, is to protect your energy. In the collapse phase, everyone's going to have an opinion about what happened. It could be your friends, your family, your coworkers, your significant other, your partner, whoever, right? And some of them definitely mean well, but their advice is essentially going to keep you stuck. So here's your filter. If someone hasn't been where you're trying to go, don't take advice on how to get there from them. If your friend has never built a successful relationship, don't let her tell you what went wrong in yours. If your family member has never taken a big risk, don't let them tell you why your risk didn't work out. And definitely don't go on social media doom scrolling through everyone else highlighted reels while you're at your lowest moment. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. Protect your energy, because in that collapse phase is where you're the most vulnerable to other people's projections. And at that time, in that type of mindset, you honestly can't afford to internalize their fears as your truths. Now let's talk about phase number 2. This is the rebuild. This is the messy middle. And this is where you're no longer collapsing, right? But you're not also fully back yet. And in this phase is where most people quit because it feels like you're doing all this work. However, nothing's actually changing. But the rebuild is where the real growth happens. This is where you're not just recovering, you're becoming someone new. So here's how to navigate it. I want you to redefine who you are without the thing that you lost. Remember what I said earlier, a setback challenges your identity. So now in the rebuild phase, you have to intentionally Intentionally reconstruct your identity, but this time you're not trying it just to have an outcome. You're not saying, oh, I'll do this just so that I can have this in return, right? So take away the perception of, I'm the woman in a relationship, right? I'm the woman who has the job. Strip those roles away and ask yourself, who am I when I strip away all the roles, all the relationships, all the achievements? What are the core values I stand on? What are the non-negotiables I will never compromise on again? Write that down, because that's your foundation. And everything you rebuild from this point forward has to align with that. And step number 2, start small, but start intentionally. In the rebuild phase, people make 1 or 2 mistakes. They either do nothing because they're overwhelmed, or they try to do everything at once to prove that they're fine. Neither works, okay? So here's what you do instead. Pick one small action, just one small action every day that moves you toward who you are becoming. Maybe it's going to the gym for 20 minutes. Maybe it's applying to one job, or going on one date, or simply getting out of bed and getting dressed. It doesn't matter how small the action is. That's not what we're worried about. What matters is that you're building momentum, because momentum creates confidence, and confidence creates more action. That's it. There's no other secret sauce. And eventually you're not rebuilding, but you finally step into rising. Surround yourself with people who also want to rise. This is huge in the rebuild phase. You need to be around people who remind you of what's possible, not people who validate your victim story. Once again, nothing's wrong with your story, but you don't want people who keep you in that mindset. Some people in your life are going to want to keep you small because your growth makes them uncomfortable. They're going to say things like, you're doing too much, or maybe you should just take a break, or are you sure you're ready for that? Those people, once again, may mean well, but they're projecting their own fears onto you, and you can't afford to absorb any negativity. So find your people, join a community of women who are doing the work, invest in a coach, listen to a podcast, read books, right? Watch videos from people who've been where you are and made it through. Immerse yourself in the energy of possibility, because you do become who you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with people who are stuck, best believe you too will be stuck. But if you surround yourself with people who are rising, you will also rise. Another thing I want you to note, this is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one for all my type A girlies. Let go of the timeline. This is so hard. This is even hard for me, okay? You want to know when you're going to feel better, when things are going to click, when things are going to be back to normal. Here's the truth. You're not going back. You're going forward. And there is no timeline. Some people rebuild in 3 months, 2 months, a year. Some people may take longer. And that's completely okay, either which way. Because the goal isn't to rush through it. The goal is to rebuild in a way that is sustainable and aligned and true to who you are becoming. So stop comparing your rebuild to someone else's, and stop putting this pressure on yourself to get over it by a certain date, and trust, that every day you show up, even when it's hard, you're already one step closer to that rise. And as we wrap up today's video, here's what I need you to understand. Setbacks aren't punishments, they're redirections. And the women who rise aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who fall and choose to get back up, who fall and extract the lessons, who fall and rebuild themselves into someone even stronger. So whatever phase that you are in right now, I want you to know that you are not broken, and anyway. And if you are looking for a community to surround yourself with other like-minded women, I do offer a school community group that I will link down below for you. This is pretty much a group of women who are doing this work right now. If this video resonated with you, I would love to hear your story. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video.